Welcome to the latest episode of Talking Season. I'm your host, Ryan McNeil. I'm joined by UCLA defensive back, Obi Eboh. Obi, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. First question for you. When and how did you fall in love with football?
It's a great question. I think it probably all started, I was born in Houston, Texas. And then my family relocated to Dallas, Texas, where I went to a school by the name of South Lake Carroll. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but obviously the great state of Texas has a lot of rich tradition with high school football. And we honestly didn't even move over to Dallas to play football. It was kind of just, Dallas has a good set of public schools and good districts, good areas. And the area that I happened to fall into was a very football rich place. And from a really early age, I started playing tackle football, flag when I was like 5. And, I just fell in love with it there. I started off pretty early, and I just, something about South Lake and the tradition and watching the varsity guys play on Friday nights. The running joke in my town is, the best time to rob South Lake is on Friday night because everybody is at the game, and that's what I grew up watching. And so I think from there, I aspired to be that. I aspired to be a varsity football player and play in front of the town, man. And from there, I kind of started my football journey.
I was born in Toronto here in Canada and raised in the suburbs. I played high school football. I was lucky, if including parents, we had 5 people watching us play on a football game. I would love if you could talk me through what a Southland high school football Friday night is like, because you've hinted at it, the whole joke about if you want to rob somebody, rob the house on because they're out at the game. Between like pep rallies, between the locker room and walking the field, what was your high school Friday night football experience like?
I can't even describe to you, like, it just coming from Texas, like there's so much pageantry and so much that goes into it, like from the city, the support system that we get from the fans. We have our Emerald Bells that, we're assigned to from the start of the year, and on Friday nights, they bring us gifts and all that kind of stuff. But, my stadium isn't even attached to our high school. We have our own separate stadium that's in the city that probably holds, they renovated it now, it probably holds about 15K now. So you can only imagine, a packed house on the Friday night. It's loud. I mean, it's damn near like a college game. I joked around with some of my buddies when I was at Stanford that some of my high school games were probably a little bit louder than some of the games that we had, but there are tons of fans. It looks like a college game. And the support of the full weight of the town is behind you. Like you feel like a celebrity when you're walking in the town square or just going to go eat, because everybody kind of knows you. They know your number. They've seen you grow up in the town. And even like when you're in middle school and playing Pee Wee ball, they're like watching to see who's going to be kind of the next, big star to come out of South Lake. And it just, the town just revolves around football. And, obviously there are other like important things in the city and things that go on, but, it's football centric for sure. And, you asked if I fell in love. I mean, just going through that experience, it's like, how could you not, So, my life is just, kind of centered around the sport, and I got that unwavering support from my city and my family. And I can't speak enough on the experience. And if you asked a bunch of other Texas high school football players that play in the Metroplex, they'd probably give you the same answer.
You obviously love the game of football. You're also a very smart young man. You went to Stanford. You are about to complete your master's, or maybe you've already even completed your master's.
Just continue.
Congratulations. Besides football, what are some things that you are passionate about?
Yeah, so like you said, I studied at Stanford University. I got my bachelor's of science in management science and engineering from there with a focus in finance and decision making. And then from there, I obviously graduated and transferred to UCLA, where I just completed, like, what is it, the 30th? I think I took my exam on the 15th. My Master of Legal Studies from the UCLA School of Law, concentrating in business now. So I just finished that up. So obviously from that, I've been very interested in finance. And to be more specific, I'm very interested in private equity and mergers and acquisitions. And that's something that I've always, I mean, in South Lake, I would say it's a fairly affluent community. And I think growing up, I kind of saw a ton of families and a ton of men in the community that were businessmen. And, I had a ton of questions and a ton of influence growing up from them. And so I think from there, that's where it gauged my interest. And I've done internships at Stanford with private equity firms, and the same down here. I did one in the summer, and it's always been something that I've been pretty interested in. So I would say finance and private equity is kind of something that I've been interested in. But, in my experience and my growth through all the years, there are a few things that I'd like to get into, a few endeavors that have piqued my interest. So, I'm still learning, still growing, but yeah, I'd say finance is the way that I'm thinking.
I love that. Now, who are some mentors that you kind of have learned from, that you've worked alongside? Is it some men back from your hometown? Is it a Stanford alumni? Is it a professor? Is it, who are some mentors that you've had in that finance world to learn from?
Yeah, I think, I learned a lot from my professors at Stanford, and some of the people that I ran across to there. I think one of the best things about Stanford and UCLA with Coach Shaw and Coach Kelly is that they provide a ton of resources for us academically. And at Stanford, they made it a point of emphasis for us to really get into internships in the summertime. A lot of schools, I feel like, don't give their student athletes the opportunities to really work and be entrenched in that environment. And I feel like a lot of times, a lot of student athletes fall behind as compared to some of the other students in school. While we're in summer workouts, doing that kind of stuff, and we're still in school because we have to be in school during summer. A lot of the guys don't get a chance to do those kind of internships and learn from mentors and other people. So in my summers at Stanford and UCLA, I was able to work. And I think that was like very pivotal for my growth. And so the mentors I had, I have countless that I could name, that I could bring up in here, but I worked in the summer times, and I learned a lot from the job and the work experience from those people. So UCLA and Stanford were very resourceful for me.
This is a trickier question. The focus for this podcast over the next month, maybe 2 months, is dealing with adversity. So I'd love to hear a time, either on the football field, off the football field, you've dealt with adversity and has helped you either grow as a football player, or, in my opinion, even more importantly, as a young man.
Man, there are countless things I could bring up. I mean, I guess on a smaller scale, when I first got to Stanford, I actually tore my adductor, and it was the first time. It was in a player-led practice, so something that I guess was voluntary, at the time. But that was something that I had to deal with because I'd never been injured for a significant amount of time, and I had to redshirt, and I had to kind of go through that process. First of all, nobody in my family has ever played football, so as far as recruiting and other things go, we didn't really know kind of what was going on. And I guess I could speak to the adversity. A lot of the experiences that I had were experiences I had for the first time, and things that I had to go through more or less by myself, especially being away from home. So like I said, I had to redshirt. I missed 6 months. I was behind my peers that came in with me in that class. And so I kind of learned how to move. I had to learn how to move correctly and eat right and do the rehab and do all the right things kind of early on to kind of earn the trust back from my coaches and perform. And so that was a significant event that happened. But gosh, over the past, 1.5 to 2 years dealing with COVID, um, and the issues that presented obviously to everybody, on a greater scale, not even just football. There are just ways that we had to adapt as a team from Stanford and UCLA, to the challenges that COVID presented. I came here to UCLA in the middle of COVID, and it was a time that I had to adjust and become acclimated to this team when I couldn't even meet, the majority of the team, just because the workouts had to be, with smaller groups, maybe 10 people, and we had to deal with the contact tracing. And so I didn't even know, more than half of the team when it damn near came to the season, just because of COVID. And I had to get acclimated and learn how to become a leader, in that regard, with those challenges that were presented. And gosh, it's been a long road, man. I mean, to get to this point in my career, dealing with those kind of things. And obviously there are other challenges that are presented with football, but a lot's gone on in my career that I've learned, through adversity. But football is such a great sport to kind of learn about that, just because when you're met with adversity, a lot of people don't really know how to deal with it and how to respond effectively and accurately. And I think football does a great job of, kind of teaching you that through the sport. And so I thank God that I had this opportunity to really learn and grow as a person, not just on the field, but off it.
You've unfortunately had a chance to deal with some adversity this month. What should have been your last chance to play college football, due to protocols and stuff, there was no bowl game for UCLA this year. How are you dealing with that? How are your teammates? How do you move back from that kind of adversity when it hits hard, when it can't get fixed? Like there's no more bowl games, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, gosh, that was a tough deal, man. We kind of found out. Well, we were dealing with a little bit of COVID issues, like everybody, kind of throughout the week. And it was taking out a certain position group of ours, and we didn't know what was going to happen till the day of the game. And they had called us up in a team meeting and kind of told us, "Hey guys, like, unfortunately, due to COVID protocols, and we're not going to have enough players to field a team, and we're not going to play the game." And that was super hard, obviously, for the seniors. And we were a very senior heavy team. We had a lot of we had a very veteran roster. And so kind of at that moment, everybody kind of turned to each other and was like, "Hey man, I love you. This is gonna be it." And everybody was giving out hugs, and we're crying. And gosh, it was a terrible feeling. But just like I said about adversity, you gotta figure out the most effective way to move on from it. And we can reflect and look back on the season and know that when we were given the opportunity, we did our job, and we did that, for the UCLA team, the football team, in this program. And just looking back on the year, it was amazing, and I couldn't ask for anything more, with a better group of guys. And so from now, the best thing for UCLA and the guys that are returning is to turn their attention to the off season and get their classes scheduled right, and move on from there. And then for the seniors, they figure out their best plan of action, whether it's moving on to the NFL, or finding a job, or whatever it is, whatever endeavor they want to partake in. And so everybody's just kind of figuring that out and taking the time to go back home and keep everything pushing, because it's not going to stop. There are going to be more issues. There are going to be more COVID protocol issues. So we're all just doing our best, man.
Let's go to positive things, better topics. Sorry for being a Debbie Downer early in the interview.
Oh, good, man. It's part of life now. It's the new normal, right? So we're always going to be dealing and having these questions.
College Game Day did a wonderful feature with you. I think you retweeted it. That's where I saw it. What did it mean to you and your family? Because you mentioned your parents, no one else in your family has played football. College Game Day, to be featured on College Game Day, is quite the honor, quite the thing. What did it mean to you and your family for you to be featured on College Game Day?
Oh man, that meant the world to me, man. I mean, just growing up, I always watched College Game Day and watched Lee Corso pick the hat or the hats, whatever he did. Um, and it was such an honor for me to be on that show. And it was surreal because, I know all the cast and I got to watch them set up the stage right on our campus. It was huge for UCLA because I can't remember the last time that they were on game day. It's been a while. Um, but it was great for our students. It was great for our fans. It just kind of felt like the city was coming alive and coming together to, support us. For my family, it meant a lot for me just because, I didn't even mention, but, my family isn't even from America. My dad is from Nigeria and my mom's from Jamaica. And it just represented, the hard work that they've put in to make sure that my sister and I have had a successful life here, and we keep elevating, our family name. And so I wanted to do my best to represent our family in UCLA on the show, and I tried to do that, and it was everything to me, man. It was like a culmination of everything that I've worked for in my football career, and I felt appreciated. I felt like I felt like all the hard work had paid off, and UCLA wanted to do that for me. So I'm very thankful for them, and I'm grateful.
There wasn't time on that clip to get into this, but on the podcast form, we can dig a little deeper, which I'm appreciative of. You talked about generational wealth in that clip that I saw. And you just mentioned your family getting better, pushing forward. That generational wealth, is that going to be through finance? Are you hoping NFL career? I think generational wealth is a wonderful thing for any family. How are you going to achieve that?
Yeah. Um, you know, for the immediate future, I actually just declared for the draft today. I actually just
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Um, so for my immediate aspirations, I would say the NFL is something that I'm looking forward to and looking forward to that opportunity. Um, as far as the generational wealth goes, whether it's through the NFL or through finance or private equity, you know, as long as I'm helping people, I feel like as long as I'm helping people and I enjoy the profession and job that I'm in, it doesn't necessarily matter, how that comes, as long as I know that I'm doing the right thing and doing right through people and helping people and having fun along the way. I feel like that's what I aspire to do. But for me personally, would I like that to be through football? Absolutely, because I love the game and I want to keep playing for as long as I can. But obviously, football is going to run out eventually. Whether it's in the near future or down the road. And so, whenever that does happen, I think I'm well prepared for my professional and corporate endeavors. So, you know, I guess to answer your question, I would say both. Whether
Yeah.
it's in the NFL or in the corporate world, I think I'm well prepared to do that and keep growing exponentially, and then seeing where I end up.
You talked about having an admiration for your parents, um, admiration for Coach Kelly and Coach Shaw, some men in your high school community that are businessmen and different things. Who are some specific people that have helped you reach this point? Who are some coaches? How have your parents helped you? Basically, it's a chance to give some shout outs to some people who've helped mold you into the young man you are right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, first and foremost, I can only thank God for these opportunities that I've been getting, and I've been very blessed to have these opportunities. So one, I got to thank God first, and then obviously, I wouldn't be here without the support and love from my parents. I think both of them are a testament to, I think I am a testament to how hard they've worked and what it took to even get to this point. First of all, I think a lot of young people now are trying to figure out, what they're going to eat, or if they're going to go Uber Eat something, or, that's like one of the harder decisions they're going to make. But my, my mom and daddy had to figure out, hey, we are dirt poor. How are we going to get to America? and, figure out a way of life. And, they came over here and did that. They didn't have much when they came over here, but they had to figure out some way to overcome that adversity and get our family started and get us moving in the right direction. And so I think, that a lot of that motivates me. It's like, if my parents can literally leave the country and go start somewhere new, I feel like it's my responsibility now to continue that and keep growing our family that way. And so, if they can do that, why can't I go to Stanford? Why can't I get a master's from the UCLA School of Law and keep pushing that way? So, a lot of that motivation comes from my parents. So big shout out to them.
Sorry, go ahead.
And shoot, at Stanford, like I said, Coach Shaw, is super resourceful and always gave me the opportunity to, kind of do what I wanted to do, football and, academically. Coach Aquina was my defensive backs coach. Actually, I was committed to Texas early in my career. And, he's a very storied coach that coached at Texas for a long time, won a national championship with them. I feel like a lot of my football knowledge and knowledge of concepts and, other things comes from him. And so, I definitely thank Coach Keenan and credit him to a lot of my successes in football, just because I learned so much from him at Stanford. And, a lot of the veteran DBs that were there, I learned from Justin Reed, who's now in the NFL. I can name a ton of people: Boogie Simmons, Ben Edwards, Quentin Meeks, a ton of guys that played in the league. I learned a lot from them. Coming over to UCLA, it's actually funny. My DB coach at UCLA, Brian Norwood, he, Coach Aquina coached him. So that's another interesting part about Coach Aquina's coaching tree. And so when I was making the transition to UCLA, that was an easy recommendation. He let me know that he was going to be going over there, and I felt like that would be a good fit for me. And so that kind of ties into my story at UCLA and learning from Coach Norwood. And got to credit Coach Kelly and him and that staff for continuing my development and giving me obviously a new opportunity and really a breath of fresh air, going to a new place and being in LA was a place I always wanted to be. And I feel like you're not going to be productive in a place that you're not happy. And I knew I was going to be happy at UCLA and being in Los Angeles. So telling those guys, and obviously all my friends, all my peers and loved ones, and anybody that come across along the way are instrumental in my growth. And so, I thank everybody that come across along the way.
You mentioned, I hope it's right, your parents were from Jamaica and Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
How did they instill the value of education and or a work ethic at a young age in you?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, we didn't even move to South Lake for football, which I think if you asked a ton of guys that are on the team now, why come and transfer to South Lake, they'd say, duh, football. But, I think just from early age, they instilled in me that, kind of regardless of what happens to you in your life, the value of education and knowledge is one of the most vital things you can have and own. And so from there, they always made sure that I was a straight A student, making sure, first of all, you're not going to be able to play football if you don't have the right grades. So, they always kept my grades up, making sure that I was on the right track that way. I was National Honor Society. I was, I wanted to be all academic, all state, all district, whatever those academic accolades were. They were always consistently pushing that narrative for me, because, if I was just somebody that cared about football and football alone, eventually that would do me a disservice. And so, whatever endeavor I wanted to do, whether it was football or basketball or whatever it was, they made sure that, I was also taking care of my end in the classroom and academically.
Final question for you, Obi. You seem to be kind of like me in that some of my friends, they hate change. They really value being comfortable. They really value their routines. You were talking about LA being a fresh start and learning and growing and all that kind of stuff. So when you're thinking about this NFL draft experience and all that's going to go into your training, meeting with teams, what gets you excited about this process, this new opportunity, this really great opportunity to try and become an NFL player? What are you the most excited about this process?
It's a good question. You know, just like anything, whether I'm transitioning from high school to Stanford, Stanford to UCLA, or UCLA to the NFL, like a new start is always enticing, and a new journey. Like whenever you're about to embark on a new journey, that's always exciting because there's like a good amount of uncertainty there, and you're kind of like, oh, like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like it's gonna be fun though. Like I don't really know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give it my best shot. So one, just starting a new journey for me, and maybe not knowing what that necessarily entails and what it looks like, but still pushing full steam ahead. I think that's it's always fun for me. And I think that I'm well accustomed to change, especially now with all this COVID stuff. And, you just got to be able to move on the fly. And that's exciting. But, I've watched the NFL. I have a ton of friends that are in the NFL now who have talked to me about their experiences. And, I'm excited to, get to where they're at and, understand and apply what they've told me about how to move and operate in the league and be a professional. And I'm excited to show my skills and what I have to offer and bring to an NFL organization. And I'm just ready to get out to the play, man. I love the game, and I'm really just ready to play and show the people, show the world that I belong in the league and the NFL, and just continue from there. It's going to be it's a fun and exciting opportunity for me. So it's awesome. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Obi, thank you for sharing parts of your story with me today. Best of luck over the next few months as you're chasing that NFL dream.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me.